Hello everyone, welcome to group time today. Yesterday we started learning about some of the popular mini beasts. We learnt a little bit about caterpillars, butterflies, ladybirds, spiders, worms. Now, today we're going to think about where mini beasts live. We're going to learn about their habitats. So before we start, think about the word habitat. And can you pause this video and talk to your grown-up about what you think a habitat is? You might remember the word habitat from the autumn term, but have a little discussion with your grown-up now about what you think a habitat is. Fantastic discussion there, well done. So a habitat is a place that an animal lives. Habitats give the animal food, water and shelter. There are lots of different types of habitats. I've put some photographs here of some different habitats. This habitat is in the ocean. It's an ocean habitat. And animals that live in an ocean habitat are things like fish, dolphins, jellyfish, sharks. Can you think of any other animals that live in an ocean habitat? Pause the video and try and remember some of the ocean animals. Amazing, well done. The next picture here is a woodland habitat or a forest habitat. You might see lots of places that look like this when you go out for your walks around where you live. So often in woodland habitats we see animals like squirrels and birds. Can you think of any other animals that might live in a woodland habitat? Fantastic, well done. And the last picture here is of a desert habitat. These habitats are very dry and very hot. Some animals that live in a desert habitat are things like desert foxes and camels. Desert habitats, we haven't learnt much about them at school, so maybe you could spend some time finding out what animals live in a desert habitat. Okay, so let's think about mini beasts and their habitat. So different mini beasts live in different habitats. So a ladybird might live differently to a spider, or a worm might live differently to a slug, okay? And each mini beast is suited to live in their habitat because they can find the food and the water and the shelter that they need. And mini beasts are really helpful because they keep their habitat healthy. And we'll learn a little bit more about that later. So first of all, we're going to think about a caterpillar. So where do you think a caterpillar might live? Pause the video now and have a think about where caterpillars might live. Fantastic, well done everybody. So caterpillars like to live on top or underneath leaves, so they like to live in very leafy places. And this is because the colour of their skin can act as a camouflage, so they blend into the colour of the leaf, and that helps to hide them and protect them so that they can't be seen by predators. A predator is an animal that eats it, so they hide in the leaves from the other animals. And then they enjoy eating the leaves, just like the story, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Okay, the next habitat we're going to find out about is the habitat of a butterfly. So again, pause the video and have a little think about where you think a butterfly might live. Well done! So butterflies can live in lots of different habitats all around the world. Some live during the day and others are nocturnal, which means they sleep during the day and come awake at night time. Some butterflies prefer nice warm places and they prefer to be in the summer, but others can live in the autumn and the winter. In the UK, where we live in England, butterflies tend to live in grassy places, in grasslands, with lots and lots of wild, colourful, pretty flowers. Each plant will usually be food for a different type of caterpillar. Now then, the next one, this is a picture of two little ants. Where do you think ants might live? Fantastic, well done. So ants mostly live underground. You might see in some places like a little ant hill where the soil has been pushed up and it's in the shape of a hill. That might mean that there's an ant's nest underneath that soil. And ants like to live in big families, so there's not just one ant living on its own. There'll be a big group of ants living under one of those ant hills in the soil. They live in this underground in the soil because there are lots of insects for them to eat under the ground. But the funny thing is that ants don't have ears, so they can't actually hear things. They use feeling to hear, so they feel vibrations in the ground. That's how they hear things, which is very, very clever. Okay, now the next one is a ladybird's habitat. So again, pause the video. Where do you think ladybirds might live? Amazing, well done. So during the summer, ladybirds live in shrubs and bushes and branches and flowers. And when the weather gets colder, they like to find protective hiding places like tree stumps or cracks in the wood. This then becomes a place to hibernate. Do you remember what hibernate means? Well done. If an animal hibernates, they go to sleep for the winter. Well done. Ladybirds crawl under leaves to protect themselves from the cold, and when they're hibernating, they huddle together to keep warm. So you might often see ladybirds where there are lots of nice bushes and flowers in the summertime. Okay, the next one is a worm. Now we have lots of worms in our outdoor area at school, particularly in the muddy gravel pits. So this time I want you to think about why we might have lots of worms in our muddy gravel pits. Some great ideas there, well done. So worms like to live anywhere that there is soil, and in our gravel pit at school there is some soil and some gravel. Worms like to eat dead leaves and dead vegetables that they find underground or on the floor, and they need the soil to be nice and damp and warm for them. Okay, the next one is a spider. Now, something funny about spiders is that they can live just about anywhere. They can survive in all different types of habitats, but they do have to find shelter when the weather gets colder. They don't like to be cold. So their body colours help them to blend in with their surroundings, with their environment. They're not easily seen because of the colour and the shape of their bodies. Spiders, we know that they like to build big webs to catch their insects in to eat. And next we have a snail, and just like the spiders, the snails can live everywhere as well, and they can adapt to lots of different habitats. Snails like to stay close to rocks and plants because then that hides them from predators. It helps to shelter them and protect them, so they like to be near rocks and plants. And you might notice that snails come out a lot when it's raining and when it's been a bit foggy and a bit rainy, and they leave a gooey, slimy trail behind them, don't they? So we can always tell if we've got some snails in our playground. The next one is a honeybee. I want you to think carefully about this one. Where might you see some honeybees? What might they live in? Some good ideas there, well done. So honeybees like to live in areas with lots of flowering plants, such as people's gardens and meadows. In their natural habitats, they can build nests inside holes in trees or under rocks and plants to keep themselves safe. And humans, or people like us, can build beehives for bees to live in, and we can usually make these from wooden boxes. Okay, so now we're going to work together to do this little sorting activity. So we've got some mini beasts here. We've got a spider, a dragonfly, an ant, a bee, a woodlouse, a caterpillar, a butterfly, and a worm. And we've got some different habitats. We've got soil, a beehive, a lake, a leaf, an anthill, flowers, under rocks, and a web. So we're going to match the mini beasts to the habitat in which they live. So first of all, let's start with a spider. Do spiders live in a beehive? No, they don't. Do spiders live in flowers? No. Do spiders live in a web? Yes, they do. I'm going to put my arrow down to web. So a spider lives in a web. Next one I'm going to pick out is a bee. Okay, the bee here. Do bees live underground in the soil? No. Do bees live in a beehive? Yes, they do. So I'm going to put my arrow. The bee lives in a beehive. Now then, next I'm going to do a worm at the bottom here because I know you all really love worms. So who can tell me, where do worms live? That's right, they live underground in the soil. Fantastic. Now then, I'm going to do the ant next. Who can remember where the ants live? What did I say about them being underground and they push the soil up to make a ant hill? Well done. There's my arrow to the ant hill. Fantastic work. Okay, now next I'm going to do the butterfly. I really love butterflies, and I can remember that butterflies like to live somewhere where it's very colourful. So which one of these habitats can be very colourful? Flowers. Fantastic, well done. Butterflies like to live near flowers. Okay, now caterpillars next. If you remember our story, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, that we read a lot at school, at the beginning of the story, the caterpillar is in his habitat. He's sitting on a leaf. Fantastic, well done. Now then, the next one I'm going to do is dragonfly. Now, we haven't learnt much about dragonflies, but I'm going to tell you some information now, and then I want you to decide which habitat it lives in. So dragonflies like to be near warm water. So if they like to be near water, are they going to live near a lake or are they going to live under rocks? That's right, well done. They live near lakes. Fantastic. So our last animal is a woodlouse. Now we see woodlouse at school in our wildlife garden. If we lift up big pieces of wood or big rocks, we often find woodlouse crawling around underneath. So woodlouse like to live under rocks. Well done, everybody. You have helped me to match the mini beasts to their habitats. Give yourselves a big clap. Well done, everybody, and I will see you soon.